Everybody wants to become a millionaire. At least that's what they say with their mouth. But the reality is, becoming a millionaire is just a mathematical equation.
Welcome to the What's a Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them. We'll discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. You know what I'm about to say. What's good, revolutionaries? I hope all is well. You've been doing your thing. And I'm not even going to say at the recording of this show because we're doing this at a time of the year that I haven't even decided when it's going to go out because I want to make sure that this dope ass show is important and potent, right? I said that it is potent for you and your families and the people that are in your communities. And I say all the time, make sure that you are surrounding yourself with other revolutionaries, not mediocre folks, right? These are the people that are going to make sure that you are pushing through your revolution and that are actually going to give you the feed and the fodder for that next revolution in your life. So I think about that, right? You all know that my father passed last year, September 16th, 2022. And my mother, at this point in time, was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? My father made sure that she was taken care of. But how do we build wealth? And I've talked about this so much. My time at Camelback, working as a VC, working to build generational wealth for myself, is how do we continue to understand and learn and educate ourselves? Maybe your revolution is to ensure that your family is taken care of once you've departed. Maybe your revolution is to build that business, right? To build your portfolio of financial stability. But how do we do that? How do we do that for us? Many of us don't know. As I talk to this brother in the green room that you'll be able to get to see, I was like, what do we do? How do we go from scratch? That's the thing, right? How do we go? As my mom used to make the make the rolls. How do we go from Pillsbury, right, to generational wealth? So I want to introduce to you, revolutionaries, my dude, my new friend, as we always say, Jason Brown, the founder of thebrownreport.com. And this brother has the tips, tools, and strategies to make you think about how you're going to maneuver and use money as a tool. And one of those biggest tools is how do you use the stock market. So I want to say, Jason, what's up, brother? Thank you, and welcome to the What's a Revolution show.
Dr. Charles, I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, word, word. Our first question that we always ask, brother, and it's going to be interesting your answer. How are you?
You know, mentally, I'm great. Physically, I'm just a little under the weather. But, as we talked about before we start recording, I think the mission is more important than me sitting down
Yeah.
resting and getting the word out and sharing with people, how the stock market works, how they can start their revolution, and, how they can change their financial future. So I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I feel like Jordan. Y'all ever seen when Jordan was playing with the flu and he still hit that? That's how I
Yeah,
feel. I'm like, let's go. This is gonna be one
let's
of the
get
best
it.
episodes
Look,
with the
look, and
flu.
I see you. And everybody that gets to watch this show, look, he put on that Burberry scarf just to let you know. Look, I'm coming with the real. I'm coming with that. So I
So the
definitely
funny,
appreciate it.
the funny thing about the scarf is because I got the chills because I'm sick, so I had to try to make sure I'm warm, so I'm not
I'm not
shaking
mad
throughout
at
the.
that. He was like, what scarf I'm gonna pull out? I'm gonna pull out this Burberry for y'all. I love it. I love it. Do me a favor, man, because I always like to define my terms real quick. Talk about the importance of us understanding the stock market as a vehicle for creating wealth, because many of us, we hear, and like I said in the green room, the good brothers at Earn Your Leisure have really illuminated for a lot of us who hadn't been in the game like they are, the importance of using the stock market to build wealth. But talk about that. Why is it important for us to understand this vehicle as a creator, right? And one means of bringing revenue into our lives.
So the way I see the stock market is it's one of the most, if not the most powerful ways to create wealth. Now, obviously, if you talk to someone in real estate, they're going to tell you real estate is the biggest way and this, that, and the third. But I have actual like facts of why the stock market is one of the best. So think about it like this. With real estate, you have to have good credit typically. Now, I
Yeah.
know they're gonna say, well, you can borrow somebody else's credit, you can raise money, stuff like that. But let's take all the creativeness out of it. If your credit shot and you don't have a network of people, like how do you get into the game? And then you still have to have 10% down on $100,000 house. You still have to have 10% down on a $200,000 house. And I'm not knocking real estate; it's definitely a vehicle. But when I looked at the stock market, I started with $500. There's not many places I can get started with $500 or whatever's in my pocket because there's a stock that fits every price point. So if you can figure out
Wow.
what to look for and when the best times to buy and sell are, you can get started at any price point. The second thing is usually real estate is active capital. And so meaning like you have to go out and knock doors, phone
Yeah.
dial, hunt
Mm.
your deal. I was working a full time job, and most people do, and they're like, "Well, how am I build wealth if I'm at work?" And it's like the stock market is open 9:30 to 4. So while I was working, my money was working for me.
Tell that
So
story.
it's one
Yeah.
of the best ways to create a second you. It's like, how do I work overtime without working overtime? Why don't I move my money over here and let it work for me? And so when you start to really think about the stock market like that, it is one of the most powerful vehicles from creating wealth. And then we can't forget this too with the advancement of technology. I mean, it's never been easier to make money from your home, from your computer, as long as you
Yeah.
have a high
Yeah.
speed internet. And so you think about real estate or any other vehicle, it typically requires you to leave your home. And so let's say if you're a single mother, let's say you disabled, any of
Mm.
that, as long as you got your eyes and your fingers, you in your right mind, obviously, you can literally invest from the comfort of your home. So I mean, I could go on and on, but those are
No, no,
just
no.
some
It's
of
beautiful.
the top things that come to mind of why it's one of the most important financial vehicles.
Yeah. Do me a favor. Drop down for a second because what I heard is, because in my mind, I hear folks, I don't know the stock market. It's hard. I don't, the PE ratio, I'm looking at 1 year, 5 year, trends. What is all of this? One thing you just said is that you can get in at any price point. With $500, I can get in any price. Drop down on that. Really, what does that mean? I can get in at any price point, right? Penny stocks or whatever. What does that mean for you?
So I don't typically like to trade penny stocks. What we do
Yeah.
is we use options. And so options allow
Mm,
you to control a higher price stock for a fraction of the cost.
okay.
So there's two examples. If you take a look at the tech sector. You have Nvidia, who makes AI chips and computer chips.
Yeah.
Nvidia is about I'm gonna look it up really quick. Nvidia is about a $400 stock. Let me just confirm. It's $465 stock.
Okay.
So so let's just say you buy one share. If that thing move $100, which it take a long time to do, you make $100. That's not going to be life changing. Well, then you can say, well, I can't afford Nvidia, but who's the second best at making computer chips and AI
Okay.
chips? You go down to
Okay.
AMD.
Okay.
Now
Right.
AMD is $118 a share. You say, well, man, I don't know if I could afford $118 a share. Well, who's the next best under AMD? You got Intel. Intel is $41 a share. And as we talk, October 25th, Intel was $32 a share. It ran up to $45 a share. So 32 to 45 is an over 10% return in
Yeah.
the last 30 days. And so if you had $500, you got to think you could have bought, I don't know, for every $30, every three shares, every $100, you could buy three shares. Does that make
Right.
sense? So,
Right. Right.
you know,
Exactly. About 15 shares,
yeah,
maybe.
but it
Yeah.
puts you
Mhm.
in the game. But
Yeah.
then that's not even talking about options. If we would have bought a 30-day option for the same $500, we could control the stock versus owning it. And we probably would have made 100% return on that move.
Okay. What is an option? Just keep it simple. Like what is an option and how can folks who are not savvy understand the option game? And look, here's the thing. I want folks to go to thebrownreport.com, right? And make sure that you go and check out this brother's YouTube. I mean, it is a wealth of knowledge and information, tips, strategies, everything. So I revolutionaries, I want you to go. Like make sure that you are supporting this brother in everything that you're doing. But tell folks, like, what is an option? And if you can you give me a simple idea of what that looks like?
Absolutely. I specialize in simple ideas because, as we talked about before we cut the mic on, my goal is to make this game simple for everybody. So here's the thing: society is going to tell you options are complicated. You need to go back to school to learn that.
Yeah.
It's risky. They're going to tell you that is what society is going to tell you because they don't want you doing it. Now, I'm going to tell you that everybody already trades in options. And people are gonna be like, what? Wait a minute. You mean yes, everyone who can hear my voice, I can guarantee that you've bought an option before. And I'll prove it. Here's all an option is. If you think about, anyone who's listening, if you've ever bought a house, okay, even if you didn't buy a house, even if you rented an apartment, okay, what you did, but let's stick with a house. Let's keep it simple. You go see a $200,000 house. You're like, I like it. You make an offer. They say, great, 200,000. You put down an earnest money deposit. You say, hey, I'm going to let you hold $2,000 to show you I'm serious. And now you got 30 days to get an inspection and get an appraisal. And at the end of 30 days, you can buy the house or you can walk away from it. And, all you put up was $2,000, right? They may get to keep the 2,000. In some instances, you get the 2,000 back. Now, let's say you get an appraisal and an inspection, and they're like, oh my goodness, good roof, this, that, and the third. This neighborhood's coming up. This house appraised for $250,000. Now, you're like, really? Now, somebody else is like, I really wanted that house, but I missed it. You got it under contract. You're like, look, we could find another house. But if you really want it, you can buy it from me for 250,000. It appraised for 250. It has 50,000 worth of equity in it, at least for me. But it appraised for 250. You can buy it for 250. You show them the report. They're like, you're right. It appraised for 250. Fair enough. I'm willing to buy it. You can sell that $2,000 option contract to them for 50,000. So they buy it from you for 50,000. Then they exercise that option and take the house for 200,000. To them, it's $250,000. They gave you 50,000 for the contract, 200,000 for the house that appraised at 250. You just controlled a $200,000 asset for $2,000 and turned it into
Wow.
$50,000.
Right.
In real estate, they call it wholesaling. If you ever hear
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
say, I'm a
yeah, yeah.
wholesaler,
Uh-huh.
they get a house under contract, they put a small deposit down, then they go find an investor or somebody who actually wants to remodel the house or whatever,
Mhm.
and they
That's
sell it
me.
to them for a little bit
Yeah.
more. That's one way to do it. So that's the same thing in
And
the
they
stock
flip the
market.
house. They flip the house and sell it for yeah.
So that's what I say when I say you can control the stock for
Mhm.
30 days versus owning it. If you wanted to own it, you had to buy it outright. In the house example, you would have to put down $200,000 outright. But
Right.
when you use that option contract, you control it for 30 days, never having to put down the whole 200,000. That's the same
Wow.
thing in the stock market.
So what you're saying, if we put this that one stock, if I'm buying one stock of Nvidia, right? But I don't want to put the $400. I don't want to pay for that one stock. I can buy it I can control that at a fraction of the cost,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
So we
then go ahead.
Yeah, we say we'll teach you how to control higher price stocks without having the big bank account, right? Because usually the more expensive stocks are the good stocks. And that was
Yeah.
my problem. I'm like, well, how do I get some of the good stocks if I can't afford it? And when I found I can control them, because that's really all I want to do. I want to take advantage of the price movement. And so if I can look at a chart and I believe that the price is going to move up in 30 days. Now, people might hear this and be like, you can only control it for 30 days. No, you could buy a 60-day option, 90-day. You could buy a 1 year option. They call leaps, long-term equity asset positions. So you could control it for what. Now, the more time you buy, you have to spend more money, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
someone's
Exactly.
committed to you for a year, you're going to pay a little bit more. But we specialize in teaching people how to find stocks that are going to move in 30, 60, 90 days, control it for a fraction of the cost. And as it moves up in price, you turn around and sell that option contract to the market or to someone else. And you
Right.
just take the profit because that's all you really cared about.
So, revolutionaries in my ear, they're like, wait, okay, I understand. It still seems like a little bit of calculus. How do I de-risk this, right? Because it seems a little risky. And in my world, in the venture capital world, investing in companies, I'm trying to de-risk as much as I can because I want to make an outsized return. And like this, I'm gonna invest X amount of dollars into this, but I'm only taking a percentage of the company. So how do you is there what's the risk and how do I then de-risk the option aspect?
Right. So think about it like this because people say, what's the risk? The risk is NVIDIA doesn't go up, it goes down, you lose the $2,000. Or I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
But if you think about it, if you had, because you have to buy options in blocks of 100, it controls 100 shares. So if you bought 100 shares of Nvidia at, $465, you'd be paying like $46,000, $46,500 for that. Now, if Nvidia falls $10, right, off your 100 shares, if it falls $10, you're down $1,000. If it falls 20, you're down two. If it falls 30, you're down $3,000. Now, people say, well, one day it'll come back. Do all stocks come back? No, they don't. Some stocks go out of business or they fall to a lower level. With the option, I can
NIO.
never lose more than the two.
NIO.
With the option, I can never lose more than the $2,000 I put up. So it comes
Okay.
in with an inherent built-in risk. I was already willing to risk only $2,000. I cannot lose more money than I put up.
I got you. Now, can I option that the stock will go down?
Yes. See, hey, now we talking, my brother. I turned the heater off next to me. It's getting hot in here. All right. So listen, I'm sweating and
Man,
everything.
look, you
Now,
cooking
I
with
told you,
grease. You,
I'm ready now. So I talked about buying an option, but most people don't know that you could buy options for stocks that are going down. Think COVID, think presidential elections, think when the Fed speak and the market goes down, you can get in front of those events. I like to call it, you can either protect your portfolio or you can make money from stocks falling. And so let me give you a real life example first, because I
please.
think when I go this route, people understand it a little bit better. Everyone buys put options every single month, 100% guaranteed. They might be like, this guy is a joker. I don't buy put options. Yes, you do. If you own a car, if you own a house, what do? You cut a check every 30 days for insurance. And this is how put option works. You drive a $100,000 Mercedes Benz or Cadillac Escalade. You pay $500 a month for insurance. That is a put option that says if I smash this truck into the wall, and the value goes to zero, I can put it to the insurance company and they're going to give me $100,000 check to buy another truck or car.
Right.
So we all buy put options when we buy insurance for our house, fire insurance, we buy insurance for our car. And so we just have never been taught to buy
Yeah.
protection on our
Yeah.
account, or we've never been taught to buy the put option on somebody else when we believe an event is going to happen. So let me give you an example. If I know that people drink and drive on New Year's Eve, that is a great time to have a put option because I think someone's going to crash. That's a great time to have an insurance policy on your family member that likes to go out partying.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying
Wow.
just buy it for that day, but that's a
Right.
day you really want it covered if you know they like going out drinking and partying because
Hmm.
it's a high probability that they can get into an accident, whether it's caused by themselves or somebody else. And so in the stock market, there are events that you can look for to say it's a high probability that the market is going to turn around or a specific stock is going to turn around. If you buy a put option, as the value drops, you can let me put it like this. Let's say you buy $100 put option. If some news comes out tomorrow and the market, that stock drops to $50, you might have paid $2,000 for that put option. You can then put it to somebody else and force them to buy it from you at $50.
Really?
I'm sorry, at $100. Even though it fell to 50, you could force them to buy it at 100. Yeah, because it's just like a car. You smash it into the wall, it decreases in value by 50%. You call your insurance company and say, I want to exercise my put option.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. It makes me think. It makes me think. One of my favorite James Bond movies. I've been trying to think about the name of the movie. And I can't even think. Daniel Craig. It was his first movie. It was his first movie as James Bond, and part of the plot is that this new airline is about to come out. This big, huge plane, and there's a plot to destroy this plane because somebody has put options on the company that owns the plane that the stock will drop because the
Yes.
plane has been destroyed. And they didn't destroy the plane, and so the stock actually rises, and so they lose like $50 million in the movie. And so
Mm-hmm.
you know what happens. But that's seemingly what you're thinking about, is that if there's an event and I think that there's I might put a put or an option on, there's an earnings coming up. Microsoft's
Yes.
earnings are coming up, and I've done my due diligence, and it looks like they're not going to meet their quarterly numbers. And so I
Yes.
may put an option in that say this stock is going to go down. Is that what I'm saying? Is that what I hear?
A- Absolutely. So two things. You could say I want to make money if it falls,
Uh,
or you like I own 1,000 Tesla shares and I got a $200,000 account. I don't want to see it get cut in half. You could also buy put options for insurance and say
mm,
like if Tesla gets cut in half, I insured my account that I'll never lose more than 10% over that earnings
wow.
announcement.
Right.
So you
Right.
can use it as insurance or you could use it to make money. Sometimes you're just using it because you want to protect what you have.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that this is a masterclass because typically, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, we're taught one way to just invest one way into the stock market. Go and buy equity shares, if I'm correct, if my language is correct.
And
I'm
hope it
gonna
goes up.
buy, yeah, yeah, and hope that it goes up, right? And if you're not savvy, you haven't de-risked, you haven't done the homework on this company, the market, the customers, all the different things. Like, why is Tesla stock fluctuating, going up and down? Well, the CEO has a has a way of moving. We never think about this, but the CEO and what they say and how they do has an influence on the stock price. Like, well, you know what? I don't really like Elon today, so I'm gonna sell some of this stock. Or, I see some movement. What did it say? Mark Zuckerberg at the recording of this show had just sold 190 million shares,
Oh,
something
did
like
he?
that. Yeah, and he hadn't made a sell, in over 2 years, but the stock had gone up.
Mm-hmm.
So he made cash, he made bank. But that's what I think how we're taught is that let me invest, or let someone invest into the market, and hopefully it's going to go up, and one day I can pull it out and I'm going to be rich. But that seems that I'll even personalize that. That's how I was taught, and that's how I've been investing. And I have my good friend Dr. Elijah Beatty, who I talk about on the show all the time, based on the folks that Earn Your Leisure. He's been doing options. And he actually did I guess he did a shadow account where it wasn't investing real money, but he was learning how to use options before he actually did the real thing.
Absolutely. And that's what we teach people how to practice first so that you know what's going on. And then you can get a ratio of win to loss, and then you're ready for real money. But those are some of the techniques that people, you asked at the beginning of the show, why is this such an important vehicle? Because people don't know that they can hedge or protect themselves even if it's
Yeah.
going down, or make money even when times are bad. Because one of the things we hear is like stock market bad, everybody losing money. And I'm like, no, I just made 50,000 a day. But if that's all you heard, you go, what? He's lying. You go, that's not real. That's a scam. Then when you understand how it works, you're like, oh no, he probably did. He understand how to buy put options. Think about when the pandemic hit. Yo, why wasn't your financial advisor saying grab some put options? They locking down the world. You know how much money you could have made from the whole market selling off like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, people just did what? I don't even want to look at my account. It's gonna come back someday. And yes, it did come back, but how much money could you have made in between it coming back? Forget just
Yeah.
waiting to get back to break even. How much wealth could you make from when it tanked so quick? But most people, they just unaware. And what your financial advisor gonna say? Just wait it out. Everybody's down. It'll be okay. Where we like, nah, grab put options. And then the other thing is most people don't understand you can sell put options. So I call it the rental income strategy. So if you own at least 100 shares of stock, you can sell call options to somebody else who thinks the stock is going to go up. And as long as it doesn't go up past the number you sold, so let's say it's $100 stock, you sell somebody $110 option, meaning they can buy it from you at 110. And in 30 days, if the stock is at 108, they're not going to buy it from you at 110 because they can buy it on the open market for
Yeah.
108.
Yeah.
So you get to keep that $500 to $1,000 premium. What does that sound like? The insurance company. Every
Yeah.
month that you don't have an accident, they get to keep
They
that
get to keep that.
premium.
Yeah. They get to keep that premium.
Absolutely. So
Wow. This
now
is a
when you
wonderful
really,
analogy.
right? So now when you think about it, the real question is, how do I become an insurance company and get paid every 30 days? Well, what
Yeah.
does what does an insurance company do? They ask you, are you married? What's your credit score? Where you live? That's called fundamental research. Because guess what? People who are married want to come home to their wife. People who got kids ain't out drinking late at night. People with a high credit score typically responsible. So guess what? Those are the people we want to insure because they go pay us every single month.
Yeah.
Low
Yeah.
probability that they go get into an accident. So when you take that same mindset and bring it over to the stock market, you start saying, okay, what companies are married with kids at home? It's like, put that in the stock market term. You like Tim Cook. He got a wife, got a bunch of shareholders and employees he responsible for. Those his kids. What's the likelihood he go do something crazy and tank the company? Right? Apple got a good product, everybody uses it. What's the chances go get into a car accident and the stock go to zero? So you start to say, how can I own those shares and then sell call options against it, collect that premium every single month because it's less likely that it's going to get into a car accident. So
Yeah.
you really start to understand the game when I put it in these analogies because you don't realize what side of the matrix you're on
No,
until
no.
someone breaks it down like this.
Right, right. And so I just want to make sure folks can go to thebrownreport.com and begin to learn and be a part of this community. Is that correct?
Yeah, so at the Brown Report is where my podcast, YouTube videos, but more importantly, we have something called a stock market starter pack and a stock option starter pack. So if they are just unfamiliar with managing their own money, how to open an account, stock market starter pack will help them. And then the stock option starter pack, I kind of break down what I'm telling you, but in like a
Yeah,
written form with examples that people can kind of see and understand. But yeah, we have a ton of free resources
yeah.
on the site.
No, brother, I appreciate that. One of the things that I wanted to say, and just to spill back to what you were talking about, is that this old saying, and this, the old saying that when there's blood in the water, buy. You know, yeah, yeah. When and what is it? When there's blood in the water, buy. When everybody's being greedy, hold. When everybody,
Shit, you know,
you
when
know,
everybody's being greedy, you sell.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, when everybody's being greedy, you sell. That's right, exactly. When nobody's being greedy, that's the being the time. Yeah, so it kind of flips, and so um, it's a really, really interesting thing. Brother, I want to pull back because you have an interesting like etiology story, and I want my folks to understand like um, two things. Before I even ask that question, I want to ask one question before because it came up when you were talking about you're a black man talking about stocks, and you said something that was early that stuck in my mind is that when you said, "Nah, I made $50,000 a day because the market the market went down." They're like, "This dude don't know. This dude is trying to sell me some snake oil." You know, can you talk to me about what it means, what it's like for you to be a black man espousing in this space that has been typically, for white men, espousing loudly about how to make money through stocks? What has that been like for you? And have you had to deal with any adversity with folks saying like, this brother don't know what he's talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you know, if we go there, we got to understand like the psychology that I had to come up through the ranks through.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is when I figured out how this all worked, if you go way, way back and start looking at my YouTube videos, I would never show my face on my YouTube videos because I didn't think people
Wow.
would want to hear it from black people. And I was like, if they find out I'm black, they won't think I know what I'm talking about. But even though I knew what I was talking about, I didn't want to show my face. So if you look at my super old videos, it's always me sharing the screen. I never showed my face, always kind of hid behind
Really?
the logo
Wow.
because my
Wow.
perception was like they don't want to hear it from a black person. But I'm like, but I know what I'm talking about. So I remember, I live here in Detroit, and at the Motown Museum, Berry Gordy, they said a lady came to the Motown Museum, and she said, I never knew that the Temptations were black. And they're like, well, how come? It's like because Berry Gordy hired white actors and put them on the cover of the album cover because they knew people wouldn't play black music. So he hired some
Wow.
white models and put them on the cover. But when people fell in love with the singing, they eventually found out the Temptations was black. And so that kind of spoke to me because that's how I was when I started. It was
Mm.
just like I wasn't sure if people. This is way before the Earn Your Leisures, the Wall Street
Yeah. Yeah.
Trappers, and all good brothers. But like I was doing this like before it was kind of popular, just shooting videos, telling people what I'm finding, and how this stuff works. And so I had to come up through that. Then the opposite happened. I was like, I gotta let people know that it works for people that look like them. And so I started obviously stepping into my brand and showing my face more often. And so that was one hurdle I had to overcome. Even for me coming up through the industry, I thought you had to be white and move to New York to do it because that's
Mm.
all you saw was
And
old
nobody's talking
white
about it in the
men.
D.
Yeah, it's like all white, old white men, and in New York. And where I'm from, everybody wanted to work for Ford, GM, or Chrysler. That was the thing around here. You went to school and wanted to get into the plant or the factory, or get an engineering job with one of the big three. So those are some of the hurdles that we had to overcome being black. And even to this day, like when a black man say, like, oh, like real talk, Wednesday, I had some put options on the market when it sold off. I made $75,000. When a white person says that, all they got to do is put on a white collar shirt, and it's like, yep, he did. He made that much. He know the stock market.
There's this
Black
belief
person
that
come
yeah.
on,
Hmm.
they like, I don't know, did he really? You know, it sound like a scam. So one of the things that I do, if you go on my site, I actually record, not on my site, on my YouTube channel, I record live my real account when I close out. I don't do this all the time because after a while, like I'm at a point now where it's like it don't matter if you believe me. I'm kind of way past that. But sometimes I do it just because I think it's fun to show people what's possible if they stay on this path. And so I'll live stream a real trade and be like, look, I got in here. I'm getting ready to get out. And so if you look at my channel, you'll see someone else like I made 50,000. I made 100,000 in one day. You also see something where I'm like, I just lost 30,000. So I don't just post the wins, I
Yeah,
post the
yeah, and
losses
I like
too.
that. Yeah,
Because we don't just hit it out of the park every single time,
singles. That's
either.
yeah. That's what my
But
boy.
some of that came from me just partly wanting to prove to people it's real, and the other part just having fun. Like, it don't
Yeah.
matter if you believe me or not. I made my money. But those are
At the
some of
end
the
of the look, at the
challenges.
end of the day, you walk to your bank account and be like, you know what, you ain't got to believe me, but you know what I'm saying. But I think it's really, really interesting, Jason, because I have to think about my own bias that plays out. And I say this, and I say this because I'm watching myself, as I look at people, and because and I say I have been ingrained in a culture that sees white men and white folks as richer than us.
Hmm.
And the expectation is that when you walk into the room, particularly in my space, you got money, you know, and you may not, right?
Right.
You may not. Most likely, you may not. But then to also, again, a fault of my own, to then question, and also make sure that when I walk into the room, I want to be perceived a certain way. So I dress a certain way. And, for the longest time, even when I flew, I was, rocking a blazer. I'm in first class. I was like, I want people to perceive that I should be here. I don't really give a damn about it anymore at all. No, I'm like athleisure to like whatever. But I just, because, I see the Wall Street trappers. I see you. I see the brothers from Earn Your Leisure. And they have blown up, right? But it's still been interesting to hear, like, are these brothers for real? Well, why aren't they for real? You know what I'm saying? Why can't they be for real? So that's when you said that, like, why can't somebody believe that this black man, and once you get into your etiology story, it's going to be interesting. Why couldn't this black man who's been successful for a long period of time make $50,000 in a day? Why couldn't he? Is it because I wonder if it's our mindset around that, right? That our money mindset, our beliefs about money, that I've never made $50,000 in a day. Should I? I'm gonna say somebody saying that. I've never made $50,000 in a year. Somebody's saying that. So how the hell did he make $50,000 in a day? That's not real. So
Yeah.
it is really, really interesting to round that mindset. I'm gonna get to that question, but I want to dive down because it's really interesting, right? I want my folks to know how you got here because it's a really, really interesting story to tell.
Yeah, and in that interesting story, I think it's important for people to know. Like, I'm a young brother, so when they see me, they're like, "You've been trading over half your life or over 20 years," and so at face value, your brain is conditioned to be like, "He don't even look that old. How you been trading for over 20 years?" But what people don't know is I started when I was 18.
Yeah.
And so I started when I was 18, and we grew up poor in Detroit. And when I say poor, I love my mom. And I know you just talked about your dad passing. Like, my mom just passed August
Sorry,
12th,
brother. I'm
20,
sorry about that.
2023. So about 4 months ago.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
yeah, thank you. And sorry for your loss too.
Thank you.
And, I love my mom. One thing, she always raised us with love. She kept us in the church, but we ain't had no money. And my dad passed when I was 2 from a car accident. And so when we were sleeping, like, we were young, we slept in sleeping bags. And I remember when I went to my best friend's house, I was like, "Man, you got a bed?" And he like, "Yeah, I got a bed." I'm like, "I thought you didn't get a bed till you become a grown up." Because
Mm.
we we couldn't afford beds. Like, the kids slept on the floor and the grown ups had a bed, which was my mom. And so I thought when you get older, you get a bed. Like, just didn't know. Just didn't know. Every house we lived in had bars on the window. Everybody we knew lived in the hood had bars on the window. Only time we didn't see bars was on like Beverly Hills 90210
Oh wow.
and all the shows on TV. So we always thought like only in like California do they not have bars on the windows. We just didn't know. And people might be like, well, how do you just not know? It's like, well, you got to understand, man. Like in Detroit, 8 Mile is the divider line, and it's super
Yeah,
racist.
yeah,
I don't know if it's
yeah.
still as racist, but it's the Ku Klux Klan is here. People don't know. There's Howell, Michigan. There's some places you just don't want to go as a black person. And
You just don't
Warren used to
roll.
be one of them. And sometimes Warren is still a place you like as a black person. Like I hope they don't pull me over. So we didn't really cross 8 Mile. We only stayed in Detroit because people like, well, didn't you see other people with no bar? It's like, nah, we didn't cross 8 Mile because you didn't want to get pulled over. And if you had a doctor's appointment or something where you had to go, you went straight like the main road and came back. You didn't drive through a residential neighborhood.
Mm,
So that's what we was conditioned to. I'm like, you want no bars, you got to move to California. So anyway, as I grow up, I'm like, well, how does this money thing work? I'm always like aware, like, well, how do other people have money? I kept hearing about the stock market. And I would hear stuff like, if you'd invested in this company 20 years ago and just put
I know.
$2,000 away, you'd be a
Million.
millionaire. So I just be like, why don't everybody do that? So I was like, I'm just going to do that. So 18, here's another funny thing. Where I'm from, if you graduate, like that's a celebration. Because
Right.
people didn't make it out of high school. They got killed, they got locked up, selling drugs, on drugs. So other places they'd be like, you just expected to graduate high school. I'm like, from here, we'd be like, just please get them through high school because it was just that kind of neighborhood. So when I graduated, we had an open house. I got $2,000 from my family, and so I took that $2,000. I was like, I'm gonna do what they say. I'm gonna put it in the investment account and just wait 20 years. So I went to a well-known bank. I'm like, yeah, I want to invest. She's like, what's your goal? I'm like, to be rich. Like, why else would I be doing this? Like, is there any other
Be
reason to
rich,
do it?
bitch.
Right. And so she says, so you want aggressive funds? I'm like, yeah, I want aggressive funds. That's the only two questions she asked me. Open that account. I'm 18. I come back at 20 years old. I'm like, how's my investments doing? I just knew it's gonna be at 6,000, 7,000. It's like down to 700. I'm like,
What?
so I was like, you lost $1,300. And I don't know what it is about me, but I just was like, I could have lost my own money, is what I said to her. I was like, how do I pull my 700 out? I'm gonna do this myself. And I'm working at Sprint PCS making $8 an hour. Our stock is $5 a share at Sprint. I got $500 because I spent $200 on some gym shoes or something to make me feel better. I'm like, I could buy 100 shares. And I'm like, it just moved 50 cents because I made $8 an hour, 64 on the Saturday. When you take taxes out, I was taking home $50. I was like, man, if I could just make $50 a week or every other week, like I won't have to work on my Saturdays. So I bought Sprint at $5 and it fell down to 4. I'm like, damn, this doesn't work. Maybe it's harder than I thought. And Sprint went back up to $5. I'm like, okay, just go to 550. Fell again to 4. I'm like, the market's rigged. They know I needed to go to 550. They won't let it
I
go.
love it. I love
I'm
it.
like, somebody behind the curtains with a walkie-talkie, like, send it back down.
No, back down, back down.
Right. So then the stock went up to 5, and I was like, I've seen this before. I got out at 5 and went to 4. I got in and went back up to 5. I made $100. I didn't know if you drew that out on a piece of paper. That's called a channeling stock. That's a pattern.
Mm.
That's a predictable. We
Yeah,
call it
yeah.
PRP,
Okay.
a predictable, repeatable pattern. So I got really good at identifying these predictable, repeatable patterns. So then I'm like, how do I get more money into the machine? I have a
Mm,
scholarship from the Mike Euler School of Business, Wayne State University here in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm like, okay, I saw my friends blowing their student loans checks. So I
mhm.
was like, man, I wonder if I apply for the student loan. Will they double pay the account? I get a refund. So I went and talked to this financial aid lady. She's like, yep, that's how it worked. We would apply your scholarship first, and then you can use your student loan for living expenses. But I'm like, but I live at home. She's like, don't matter. We give it to you for living expenses in case you want to move on campus. I'm like, bet. So I got the $10,000 student loan, put it in the stock market, grew it to like 120,000 as a 21-year-old college student.
Wait, time out, time out. You grew $10,000 to $120,000
As a 21-year-old college student.
as a 21-year-old college student. Revolutionaries, did you hear that? Like that's a look. That's a revolution. All right, keep going. I just want to point that out. Revolution. A $10,000 refund check. You out here like living your best life. He living a better life.
But see, that also taught me one of my first principles, and I'll go back to that. Remind me, I mean, I'll
Yeah, yeah,
remember, but like it taught me one of my first principles too, which is I'll talk about it now. It taught me one of my first principles of how to understand risk because I saw kids get their student loan and they were blowing it on shopping, shoes, and hanging out. I looked at it and said, okay, if I lose the money, I'm in the same spot as them. I got 4 years before I graduate, so they're not even gonna start interest until I graduate. Then I'm just gonna make small monthly payments and be like the rest of the world. But I'm like, if I'm right, I'm rich and I'll never have to work again.
yeah.
And so to me, I took a calculated risk. And when people hear that, they say, well, isn't borrowing money to invest risky? I said, well, say that to somebody who borrows money to open a McDonald's, open a car wash, right? People borrow money to invest in houses, different things. Now you might say, well, a McDonald's has a proven system. Okay, well, if I borrowed money to invest in Apple, Apple has a proven system, and I'm
Oh
going to
wow,
hook
tell the
my
story.
caboose onto their proven
Yeah,
system.
yeah, yeah,
And if I can out earn the interest rate, then I'm good.
yeah.
Right. So people don't understand even how to do risk analysis like that. They just hear and be like, isn't that risky? Not really. Not, I mean, there is some risk,
There
but
is
is
risk
it
to it. Yeah, yeah,
risky? That's
yeah, yeah.
that's debatable.
Hmm.
Right. And so, but that's when I learned my first lesson of how to analyze risk. And so I end up growing that account to about 300,000. I was living off about 50. I risk a quarter million trying to make half a million. I'm gonna buy a condo downtown Royal Oak for $500,000. I lose everything. I had to sell my Lexus. I had to move out of my place. I had to move back home to the neighborhood that I hate, where they stealing your cars, bars on the window, etc. But I had to cut all my expenses because I'm like, I'm broke. I got to raise money again to get back into the stock market. I got to go get a job. So I went back to selling cell phones for Verizon Wireless this time. So I said, okay, here's my game plan. Verizon had tuition reimbursement. I'm like, now I know what I want to go back to school for because I had dropped out after I made 100,000, but I had no more scholarship. So I was like, it's gonna take me 5 years to get back on my feet. I said I'm gonna get a job at Verizon, use their tuition reimbursement. I end up getting my finance degree. While I'm working, I'm like, man, I can't quit the stock market because I know it works. I just got to put some parameters in place and not go so hard.
You gotta put some
And so I had
guardrails
this
in.
crazy idea. I was like, I'm gonna videotape myself making the money back, which is how I started my YouTube channel.
Yeah,
And so as I videotape myself making the money back, I eventually get back on my feet and people ask like, how do you find your trades and stuff like that? And
yeah,
what kind of trader are you? And that's kind of how my business was born. I didn't wake up and start a business like, I want to figure out how to sell stock market stuff. Like people were asking me from my videos, like, how'd you find that? How'd you know to buy?
you
Why
create
didn't
a
you stay
niche.
in this
Yeah,
long? And so I was like, wait a minute, we got an opportunity here. And then I was like, I saw this. Here's the other thing that happened to me. I saw this one girl's video and she was like in front of just like a white wall. And she was just like, y'all need to invest. Y'all better get this money. Yeah, get this money. Y'all got to get in the stock market. And I looked at the comments. People was like, yeah, you right. Yeah, you're right. Look, we got to invest. And I was like, these
she ain't
people
say
just
nothing.
hype off this
She
little
ain't say
hype
not
video.
one thing.
She wasn't saying nothing. And you know what I said at that moment? Because I was still hiding behind my logo. And I said, well, where your video at? I said, at least she
Yeah,
got a video out here. I said, by you not rising up and playing in your gift, people ain't got nothing to compare to.
yeah, yeah,
Because when you search, it was only her video to be found, which was, in my opinion, not the best. I don't want to degrade her. She took
yeah,
action. But I was like, I know what I'm talking about. So that's when I don't know, like Superman came out. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to everybody about the stock market. I'm gonna show my face. I'm gonna share what I learned. I ain't gonna be afraid of comments, stuff like that. And then obviously, as I built my account back up, I was like, man, how do I get $1 million in the account? And as the business was growing in my investments, I was
yeah,
still working my full time job. I was just taking all my money and putting it into the stock market and trying to scale the account over 1 million. And so,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Having the
that's kind of
goal, having the
that's how it
goal,
all
having the tips
started.
and strategies. Yeah, yeah. So, again, revolutionaries, they're my hair. They be like, but I got a money manager. Why do I need to know the stock market? Why do I need to get on your YouTube? Why do I need to go to brownreport.com? I pay somebody fees, 1 to 2% every year of my account. Why do I need to do this?
So here's what I tell people because I would never knock someone's profession. There is a place for a money manager. I will say your money manager is only as good as you are. Like if you don't know nothing about put options, call options, protecting your account, renting your stocks out by selling calls against it, like your financial manager can only give you basic advice then and be like, yeah, just put it in this fund. We got some bonds, we got a little real
Mm-hmm.
estate,
You're right.
we got
Right.
some ETFs, some index funds, because that's all you know. You can't even ask
Yeah.
them no questions. And so they have a place, but that typically comes out to an average return. And so people be like, why should I invest? I'm like, you shouldn't, but only if you want to try to get an above average return and you don't want to wait to age 59 and a half to start enjoying your life.
Right.
Those are the people I'm talking to. I'm not, I don't try to convince people like I'm comfortable, I'm good. My guy handled that. It's like perfect. That's why they exist, for people who comfortable, good. They don't want to learn this. They don't have time. I hate math. If you start checking any of those boxes, keep doing what you're doing. But I want you to know that that is nothing to be embarrassed about. Some other traders will try to make you feel bad, like you stupid. You could be getting. It's like you're not stupid. You can't get a better return if you don't want to learn this. So you're doing the
Yeah.
best that you can do. But if you're like, man, Jim Rome said it best. I'll leave it like this. He said, take 10% of your income and give it away or donate it. So take 10% and let somebody else try to make money for you, which is your financial manager, your money manager, whoever. But he's like, take 10% and see if you can produce a better return than them. So you don't
Yeah.
have to take all of your money. Just see
Uh-huh.
like, you know what? I'm gonna take
Yeah.
$5,000.
Yeah.
Maybe I got $100,000 portfolio. I'm gonna take 10,000, see what I can do with it.
Yeah.
And so that's
That's
the
what I
person
did.
I'm speaking
That's
to, who
interesting
is
you say
like,
that. That is exactly what I did, and I particularly during when the pandemic hit, I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna take $10,000." And I invested in 3 stocks. And I was like, "Let me see what I can do." I still got one of
yeah,
them. Yeah, I like, I invested in NIO. Well, we know where that went. Um, I invested in Apple, uh, and, and I invested in JP Morgan. And
and
go
think
ahead.
about IO. I don't even know what IO is, but think about if you knew.
NIO, they're electric, they're Chinese, electric vehicle.
But think about, as that company was going against you, if you knew about put options and you were
Exactly,
able to buy a
exactly.
put option, instead of just watching your account decrease, your put
Mhm.
options could have been making money or at least stopping the bleeding.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
it
that is
bled,
why
it
people
bled.
need to
Oh
learn
my
this.
god. Yeah. It bled. I looked yeah. It bled. It looked like 300. Uh, so that's exactly until I ended up selling. And now the stock is at like $7. So I'm wondering, I'm like, hmm. And I like the stock. I like the company. It's a Chinese EV company. One of the interesting things about them is that they do a battery swap, you know, and so you have the ability. So understanding their fundamentals, they could be the Chinese version of Tesla if they get it, but it is always interesting. Um,
And
Go ahead,
And
brother.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think it's important that people understand the difference between trading and investing. It's like that company
Mm,
could become the Chinese version of Tesla, but that is not a trade. That's an investment that you
yeah.
maybe have to be willing to
Yeah.
sit on for 5, 10 years to see it come to
Right.
fruition. When we're trading, I'm looking for stuff that's getting ready to happen in 30, 60, 90 days and take advantage of the price movement.
Right.
So that's a big difference. I'm not trying to see where it goes long
Ooh. Right.
term and
Right.
who runs I'm like, it hit resistance. It looks like it's rolling over. Give me some put options. Oh, it's at
Yeah.
support where people like buying it. Let me get some call options or own the stock and ride it
Yeah.
back up.
Man, this is look, folks. I want you to go because he is right now. He's talking in a language that we need to learn. Not that we can't learn. And I think this is moving past the fear of this. And I think, when I even say that, moving past my own fear. And I think the fear is, if I do this wrong, I'm going to lose money. Well, there's an opportunity to practice this before you move it into
To
you
real
move to
money.
practice the theory before you move it into play. And that's the thing that I think that we need to understand, that you can practice, that you can go and learn from this brother, right? Believe in the theories and tips and strategies that he's teaching, and then move that into practice. That's the thing. Let me ask this, one last question or two last questions. Um, if I wanted to get started, if I'm a novice, right? If I'm a novice, but I want to get into the game, what's one or two things that you recommend?
So there's two ways to look at this. I'll give you the paid way and the free way because I think it's important people understand both. Because
Mm,
sometimes people hear this and like, oh, he just want to sell courses. I do so many free videos online that if you watch them all, you'd learn a lot anyway. But
mm,
let's talk about the free way. First thing I would do is download our stock market starter pack. It's free. You just got to give me your email address. I email it to you, etc. And so what that's going to tell you to do is going to teach you how to open your first virtual account, which is most people don't know you can open a virtual or practice trading account.
mm,
Once you get that trading account, you have access to the charts, the quotes, the ticker symbols. Now you have access to the market and you have access in a virtual environment where you can start practicing. So that's kind of like the first thing I would do is open a trading account. Like I said, we give you the ones we recommend. We typically also recommend like Webull so you can get your first stock for free. Most people don't even know they can get their first stock for free.
wow.
And so we kind of walk you through that all in the PDF. It's too much to walk you through in this session. So that's the free way to get started, right? And then you start practicing on your own. The paid way that I recommend, I really recommend people take a course. And even if it's not my course, and here's the reason why. If you're practicing by yourself, you don't even know what you practice.
Yeah.
You don't even know if you got it right, wrong. You don't really know why you made money. You don't really know why you lost money. And so, yes, you can practice, but if you know what you practicing, it's kind of a moot point. And so the thing I look at with the stock market, and this hurts my heart, and I see it all the time because I got a huge email list, probably 66,000 people on our email list.
Wow.
I can't tell you how many times someone says, like, I'm going to try it out on my own first, see how I do, then come back. I guarantee you, I could pull up an email right now, usually within the last 30 days, that say, I blew up my account. Once I make some more money, get my tax returns, I'm going to invest in your course or I'm going to invest in your program. And I'm like, you just lost $10,000. Depending on which program, it was only 1,200 or 2,000.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and so
Right.
I don't know why we don't do this anywhere else in life, but we do it in the stock market. It's like we will go $50,000 in debt, 50 to $100,000 in debt. We will study for 4 years. We will also work an internship for
Mm,
free.
free.
We'll work an internship
Do
for
not take a
free.
$1,200 course.
Then when we come over here and be like, just get the course, it's like 2 grand. You can see a real trader trade. You can ask questions. We're gonna break down what to look for, when to buy, when to sell. And they'd be like, nah, I'm gonna try this on my own. It's like, what if your doctor said I'm gonna try this on my own? I ain't go to doctor
Tell
school.
the story.
What if your
Jason, tell
dentist
the
said, I'm just
story.
gonna try this on my own? I ain't going to dental school. Let me try it on my own first with you. It's like we don't accept that anywhere else. But somehow magically, when it comes to the stock market, we're like, I'm gonna try this on my own, just kind of see how I do. So I
Yeah.
really recommend people join. We call it courses, coaching, and community. The courses is
Yeah.
going to teach you what you need to know. The coaching is going to give you feedback to make sure you understand what you're seeing. And then the community is there for you to ask questions, for you to see what I'm trading, see what other members are trading. So we found that
Yeah.
to kind of be the trifecta
I
of
love
people's
that.
success. Because when I was trading by myself, one thing I didn't have is community. And the community, if I would have posted in the community, like I'm about to risk $250,000 to make $500,000. If it goes wrong, I lose it all. Somebody would have been like, you might want to think about doing a quarter of that,
Yeah.
half of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
protecting
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
with a put,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so the community part is so powerful. Or if a coach would have been like, instead of risking the whole 250,000, take 20,000 and buy some put options in case it goes against you. Do you know
Yes.
I would have made more money because it tanked and went against me? I probably would have made 400,000 because it went the opposite way, but I had no
Wow.
insurance. I
Yeah.
had no insurance. I just bet the farm that it was gonna go up,
Yeah.
right? And so a coach could have caught that for me. And so I'm a big proponent of the 3 C's: courses, coaching, and community. But again, you can
Yeah.
watch YouTube videos for free. You can do all kind of stuff. Some of the problems is you get conflicting information on YouTube. The other thing is, I got a family, I got a wife, I got kids. I'm not hanging out on YouTube responding to everybody. And I
Yeah.
got paid customers. So I got to go respond to my paid customers. So as a person who's just doing the free route, you don't get direct access to the people that can help you.
Yeah. 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 And at the end of the day, we have to invest in ourselves and understanding and learning. What could that $2,000 do for you to pay for that course? I always think about this, like, where am I spending? How does the spending of my money save me time and error?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, how does it save me time and my ability to uh, fail faster or to excel faster? You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, brother. Look. This time is shot by, and I definitely
Shot by.
appreciate it. Shot by. I just want to ask you one last question, brother. Jason Brown, what's your revolution?
So my revolution is something called 5 Year Millionaire. And so from the time that I went broke and made my money back and became a millionaire, it was roughly like 5 years from the time I like made a decision. And so I broke it down and realized like everybody wants to become a millionaire. At least that's what they say with their mouth. But the reality is becoming a millionaire is just a mathematical equation. So what we found is that if you make 60 trades at a 10% return, if you start with $4,000, you would have $1.2 million at the end of 5 years. And so we're on a crusade. We have a program called 5 Year Millionaire where we send multiple trades, but we try to pick one trade a month that can make you 10%. And we want to see how many millionaires we can generate in the next
Wow,
5 years
that's a
because,
revolution.
yeah, because, you know, people go to school for 4 to 5 years just to come out making 100,000, if that. I'm like, what if they can come to this school and come out in 5 years and be a millionaire? And so, and
Yeah,
here's the thing: I don't know if everybody will get there. I'm not guaranteeing people will become a millionaire, but I will guarantee that we're helping people start their millionaire journey.
yeah. Wow, succinct. Like, that is dope. That is super, super dope. Like, revolutionaries, like, you've heard people answer this question, but to think about, like, how are you revolutionizing yourself? How are you revolutionizing your community? How are you revolutionizing the world? And we think about this, like, the 5 year millionaire. How can we create a community of millionaires by moving through this process? That is super dope, brother.
And moving through it together.
Yeah, yeah. Revolutionaries, look, that's what this show is about helping you be the most revolutionary version of yourself, mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, and emotionally, as we think about that. And we're gonna put you on that path, and we're gonna direct you, because this path begins with you understanding how to get in touch and how to be involved in this community that Jason Brown has created and is proliferating out here in the world. So make sure you go check out Jason Brown, thebrownreport.com. Make sure you check him out on YouTube, listen to his videos, sign up for his course, yo. Don't be cheap. Like, just don't be cheap. Like, sign up for the course. If you're really trying to revolutionize your life, you're gonna have to spend some money. I learned that the hard way. You know what I'm saying? So, revolutionaries, you know that I love you. I'm with you. And we always want you to be able to answer the most thought provoking question of your life. What's your revolution? We'll talk to you soon.